Perfect. All right, well, people might still join a little bit late, but we may as well get started. I see we have around 300 people in the meeting so far, so that's great. So good morning and welcome everyone to this training for the contract management system, specifically on engineering contracts. We'll move to the next slide. Just a bit of an introduction. CMS, as many of you know, is now live and in implementation for engineering contracts. It actually went live in May of last year, and we've been gradually adding contracts to the system. So we did provide this training, 2 sessions of this training last May. However, at that time, obviously, there wasn't a lot of use or contracts in the system. So we thought it would be a great time to provide some refresher training for both MTO internal staff and our service providers. So again, thank you for being here today. This is more of an introductory session, but it does cover the majority of the functionality as it relates to engineering contracts. The session is being recorded, and we will be providing a link to the training both in CMS and on our CMS YouTube channel. So you'll be able to refer to this in the future if you have any questions, and that will be great. So I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Jamie Lozon. I'm the head of the Business Solutions section at MTO in the Contract Management Office. And I also have with me today Ryan McCarricker, James Brower, and Heather Brown from our team, who will be sharing the slides as we go through the training this morning. So welcome. Next slide. So just wanted to cover at a high level some key messages for everyone, both internal and external. So this is a new implementation. Engineering contracts haven't used a contract management system in the past, so it is a big change for both internal staff and service providers. But the decision has been made that, much like we've been doing for about the last 10 years now on our construction contracts, that there's value and benefits in having a system in place for managing our contracts rather than handling everything through email and other methods. So the design of the system is really to enhance collaboration, data management, reporting, and transparency. So excited to take this next step and implement CMS. That being said, we know that, just go back for a sec, Ryan. We know that it is a transition for everyone, and it's a bit of a learning curve for both sides, and it's not intended to be that the solution solves everything all at once. We do have opportunity to make improvements, add additional functionality over time, and it will grow as we grow and become more comfortable with it. So not all, engineering has a lot of different deliverables and things that can occur on any of the contracts. So not all unique business processes may have a specific application in the system. However, we do have the core functionality covered, and we have a robust file manager application that we can use for sharing and storing files on all contract types. And you'll see more about that in the presentation. So I just wanted to be clear, though, that the expectation is, and that decision being made is that we will use available functionality in CMS to the greatest extent possible. So after May of last year, we included language in all the engineering assignments that were advertised, mandating the use of CMS. So that is the expectation. It's not an optional kind of thing. If you're finding it's not being used, please reach out and we can work on how we can make sure that we're getting all the contracts in and using the system to the largest extent possible. Next slide. So just a few key messages, housekeeping for this assignment. Feel free to raise your hand in the Teams meeting to submit a question. We will take questions sort of at the end of each section that we go through today. So there'll be plenty of opportunities. We just ask that everybody keeps their mic muted when we've got this many people in a session. It can be a bit distracting. I think everybody's probably pretty familiar with Teams at this point, but just a little diagram there on how to raise your hand, how to use the chat, and we'll try to get to all the questions. If we don't get to all of them in the time allotted today, we will follow up with any questions that weren't answered. Next slide. So really just the objectives, the key objectives for today is a general use training that covers both the basic functionality and the key engineering applications used in the system. So we'll do a bit of a summary slides and then go through and do a demonstration of each of the different apps and sections and show how to use. Again, we'll allow time for Q&A, and then future training and resources towards specific users will continue to be available. So as we get more and more contracts in the system, if there's areas that people are having trouble with or grasping, we can always do smaller sessions, individual workshops for different functional areas. And we're really keen on doing that. And you can reach out to us at any time and we'll do our best to accommodate. Next slide. So just a quick overview of the agenda before I hand it off to Ryan. So we'll look at a little bit around user management. That's covered primarily by the ministry. Some general functionality, project setup, meetings, file manager, which I mentioned earlier, submittals and submittal packages, which is one of the key functionalities as it relates to engineering service providers, as far as reviewing and submitting deliverables throughout the assignment. A little bit around change management and how we implement change requests and changes to the contract. The invoicing process, how we do the performance appraisals in the system, and a bit of general information on a milestone application that is also sort of out of the box, but available and I think applicable for engineering type assignments. So with that being said, I will thank you all again for attending. It's great to see we're now up to 450 people in the meeting, which is fantastic. And I will switch it over to Ryan.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Just a little bit on the course delivery today. It's going to seem a little repetitive. The way we tend to train these things is we go through a slide deck on the application, then we do a demonstration of the application, and then we take questions for it. So it's a little iterative as we go through it, but it's meant to cement the process in your mind, kind of take you through the theory of it, and then take you through the practical of it, and then move on to the next one. And then hopefully with the slides combining with the video recording of this, you can look back and see how things are done. And if you're having trouble, you can always try to help yourself that way. And then if not, we always have our help desk. You can reach out to us for any help if you need it. User management. Now I'm just going to hand it off to Heather to take us through user management. You're muted, Heather.
Here we go. All right, here we are. Hi there. I'm Heather, and I did predominantly a lot of the onboarding for CMS. So I'm going to go through the user management phase for the system. Onboarding in CMS is a sequence of events of contract creation, adding you to the user's application, and a group placement for permissions within the assignment, which will create your usability. Onboarding happens one step at a time, and it's performed by the contract services technician within the regions where the assignments are located with the assistance of CMS head office. Next slide, please. Access to CMS is provided by MTO personnel. Access is provided with an invitation and a license. Invitations are sent in an email, and all licenses are granted through a user application within CMS, steps 1 and 2. External companies do not set up their contacts within their company profile. MTO staff will perform all the necessary actions to grant you and your company access to the system. For new companies, one person will become the domain admin for the company by completing the initial invite. This can be someone who uses the system, or it can be someone who does not. Many companies use an admin because they're familiar with their employees and they know who's coming and going. Once the initial invite has been completed, then other individuals can be invited. There are no real administrative duties for the domain administrator, except that they need to remove individuals from the contacts in the user's application as individuals leave their organization. And they need to notify MTO by sending an email to mtocms@ontario.ca, indicating that the individual has left their organization. Once the engineering assignment has been awarded and it is time to enter the agreement into CMS, a CMS enrollment form will be emailed to your organization asking who will be on the assignment and in what capacity. There are two functionalities to choose from, Engineering Consultant PM and Engineering Consultant Designer. Each functionality carries different permissions and has different visual access within the agreement. This will be explained on the next slide. Once we know who needs to be on the assignment, we will send the assigned individuals an email invitation, which looks like the welcome picture located on the slide. This invitation may arrive in your inbox, but it might also arrive in your spam or your junk mail. So please keep an eye out for the invitation once you've been assigned to an assignment. The invitation will come from Kahua, which is outbox@kahua.com, and not MTO as people expect. You can see that depicted on the picture as well. Access to CMS is only granted and required when you have been assigned to an agreement. Only you can see the agreement that you've been assigned to. There is no general or open access to CMS so that you can see all contracts. It's only for what you have been assigned to, you will have access to. Next slide, please. Now that you've accepted your invitation and you're a registered contact within CMS, your username is your email address and your password is the one that you used during your invitation. MTO will be notified that you've completed your invitation and can then add you to a user's application. Adding you to the user's application in CMS will assign you a user's license for engineering assignment access. Once MTO adds you to the user application, you will receive a task in your inbox to accept your license. At this time, you will need to log into CMS. Multi-factor authentication will apply, which that will be explained in a later slide. You need to go in and check your task by clicking on the task box in the top banner located in the left of your initials. A lot of this will make more sense once Ryan reviews the general functionality. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So this will be reviewed with general functionality. So you check your task box by clicking the task box in the top banner located to the left of your initials. You will have a red number 1 in your task box. Click on it to receive your notification and accept your license. Once you've accepted your license, your part of the registration is complete. Next slide, please. Now that you've accepted your invitation, you've been added to the user application, and you've been assigned a license, engineering services can now place you in the corresponding permission group as you requested on your CMS enrollment form. There's 2 groups. The main difference is that one can see invoices and change management and one cannot. And these functions will be reviewed by Ryan later on in the presentation. And now that these steps have been complete, your onboarding is also complete. And that's it for onboarding for CMS.
All righty,
Back
thank
to
you,
you,
Heather.
Ryan. You're welcome.
Thank you. So as Heather mentioned, we're going to go through some general functionality, just navigating the platform, some personal settings, creating and viewing and editing records, working with the hierarchy and how to find your projects, where they're stored. Communications in CMS, we have a communication ability in there with emails and chat, and then your tasks that was also mentioned by Heather. So there is a mobile application for this. It's limited in its functionality. You can't do everything you can on the computer. You can do some field level stuff, but it's mostly meant for field gathering of data in the field, like for construction, like taking diaries and samples and stuff like that. But there is an iPad and an iPhone or a smartphone application in the Android and Apple stores that you can download Kahua for. Make sure you do it on your work phone because you do need the authenticator to log in. There's 2 ways to access the system as well. There's a web-based browser application, which this is taken from, this screenshot here on the left. But if you see where it's circled in green, you can also download the app. We recommend downloading the app to your hard drive and working off your computer, the desktop application is much smoother. Seems to work better, so we recommend doing that. If you see this re-authenticate via SSO, so MTO internal users will log in using single sign-on. So it uses your computer login and Azure account to basically sign in without a password. It understands that you're logged into your computer already. You click sign in and it automatically signs you in. And then for external users, they're subject to multi-factor authentication. So you get an email in your email inbox with a code that you punch in and it authenticates you that way, or you can download an authenticator app like we use at the ministry for some things as well. This is the sign in here. So this is the sign in for a desktop application. You can click sign in. It'll sign you in via the SSO. You can re-authenticate by clicking this box, which just makes you have to use your authenticator app again to re-authenticate. And then this is the MFA that I was talking about. It came into effect February 10th for all users. It's a platform change by Kahua, so we didn't really have any control over it. It's being pushed out as a security feature. So a lot of things we use nowadays have second factor authentication, including CMS now. There's some links here in the slides. We'll make these slides available with demo videos for external users on how it works and how you can log in with MFA. This is a projects overview. So this is what you see when you log in the first time. You'll see some projects, some recent projects up in the top here, and then some unread messages, some new messages, and any open tasks that you might have here. Down along the left, this is all your apps that are open or otherwise pinned. You can pin apps to the status bar here just by right-clicking and clicking pin. Up here, you've got your tasks and your messages in the top right corner, and then your personal settings under there. I'll go through that in a demo. Here you have all the apps. So if you click this apps icon up here with the 9 dots, it opens up all apps, and then you can scroll through all the apps that we have. You'll be able to see construction apps as well as engineering apps. So just know what you're looking for. You can always type it in the search as well, and it pops up pretty quickly. This is a view of your task list. So all your tasks are listed, who they came from, what they are, the date that they were assigned to you, and what app they are in and what project they're in. So you can quickly navigate tasks from multiple projects, find out what's waiting on you, and then kind of run your project from your task list if you want. Here's an example of some engineering performance appraisal tasks that are waiting for action by the user. These slides are put together by James Flanders. So there's a lot of James's names here. But this is a task that's waiting for James. If you click it, it pops open a panel here on the right, and you can view the task and action it from there. So you don't have to go to the app. You can action the task right from the task list. This is an example of the personal settings that you have in here. So copy inbound emails that include inbox at Kahua to my inbox. This means that any message you get in the system, you'll get to your inbox. So make sure you have that checked. Then you don't have to always be logging into CMS to see what you have pending on you. You can get emails if something like an invoice or something comes to you. Same with this one, send copy of received messages to my email. Make sure that's checked off. And then just some standard time zone settings. We'll also have some more settings down here that I'll go through in the general functionality demo. You can configure CMS to send you summaries as customizable interviews showing all tasks pending on you. The frequency is configurable. We show that right here. See the send summaries. You can send them weekly on Friday at about 12. I have them sent to me every day at 9, just for example purposes. 9 a.m. every day I get a summary of all the tasks that are waiting for me, and then I get a weekly summary every Saturday. So that's all configured in here. What's this? This is the project finder. So this is how you navigate to your project. You see up here the home button takes you to the domain level, and then Ontario Ministry of Transportation is the domain level. You see within there, you have Transportation Infrastructure Management Division, and we've got some other testing and training and UAT projects in here that are not relevant. you won't be able to see those. You won't have access to the domain level. You'll have access to the regional level. So if I go down into here, you see there's 6 projects here. That's North region, Northwest region, Northeast region, East region, Central, West, and then head office. If you click in there, then you get each region, and then you go into a region and you get a list of all the projects. Let's do a quick demo. So this is me signing in with SSO. You just click sign in and it chugs along for a few seconds and then lets you in. So this is the main view well, this is what I was working on last. If you're already logged in, it's going to maintain where you were working last. So I'll get out of that. Down along the side here, you've got all your apps. You can pop your apps open like this. Oh, sorry, up like this. You can read everything down here. You see this little pin icon. I can unpin things or pin them here. Yeah, we have a question.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to raise Bonnie Murphy has requested something. If you could check that on the chat. Thanks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'll post it in the chat in 2 seconds here.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. We'll distribute the slides. I like to keep this collapsed here. Once you start to recognize the icons, it's a little easier. But you can pop things open with the apps. So if you go to apps, all apps here, this is all the apps we have configured in the system. We've got over 90 of them that we've built between construction and engineering. And then you can click on any of them here, or you can come up here. Just click Invoices. Takes you to the invoices pretty quickly. It's pretty straightforward that way. Down along here, you've got 3 icons, a hamburger, a hot dog, and a piece of paper. Piece of paper opens whatever you're working on full screen. The hot dog splits it, and then you can also move it in and out as you want here. Give yourself more real estate to work with. Or you can go here, which shows you the log view and kind of collapses what you're working on. Over here, this is a menu that you're going to see on any panel that you have popped open or any record. It helps you quickly pop down to the various sections of whatever you're looking at. Some things are fairly long, like the engineering performance appraisal, so use it to click through that way. Up here, we have our settings. So this is the personal settings that we were looking at in the screenshot. You can see I have both those checked here. One thing you're going to have to do is set up your signature. So you can upload a scanned document of your signature and then set up a 4-digit PIN. And then that's how you're going to approve things like DOFMA, change orders, stuff like that. They get approved with a PIN code and a signature that affixes itself to a portable view of the record. So it's kind of nice like that. Out of office too. So if you're ever going on vacation or anything, make sure you set your out of office to whoever's your delegate is. You can turn this on. It can start and stop whenever you want. You delegate to whoever you want. Oh. There's Jamie, so I could delegate all my tasks to Jamie while I'm on vacation if I want to. So the task will bounce off me. If I want it to send me a notification, it can send me a notification. Can't spell this morning. And then I'll get this message whenever it bounces off of me and goes to him for review. He can action it on my behalf that way. And then once either you come back and untoggle this or you end the end date expires, the task will start coming back to you again. Just going to keep that off. I think that's it for settings. Discussions is the chat that we were talking about. We haven't really implemented it yet in CMS. It's out of the box from the platform, but we've chosen not to implement a chat feature yet. We have enough chats and everything like that. It's sort of like a running chat on the record, but right now it's not hidden from external service provider view. So I don't know how much use it is right now to us, but we'll monitor that. Go to settings. So up here on just beside my settings is my messages. You can see I've got a lot. You get a message for basically every task that you receive, and then these copies of these messages are what gets sent to your email address. So there's lots of, see, it notifies me every time someone gets signed up here. A bunch of signups that day. You can pop a message open. You can forward things to your inbox too. So if you want to, you can forward things to yourself. Do it that way. All right, and then the task list up here. This is all of our tasks. You can see who it's from. Because this is a testing contract, it's all the tasks are from me. I'm the only one working in this contract, so it's not really representative of what it's actually going to look like. But these are where your tasks are from, and then the subject of the task is basically the record ID. And then we've got, if I hide that, we've got what app it is, what project it's for, and what its due date is. In some cases, we have due dates for things like compensation requests. We know we have a due date of 50 or 60 days for that. So it imposes a due date for you. So you can kind of keep track of those things. We have some videos in the system as well. So the training that Jamie mentioned, that was last May, has been uploaded in the system. So if you go to submittal packages, and then scroll down on your status bar to where submittal packages are. See there it says package submittals. If I right click that and go videos and documentation, here's the CMS engineering training from May 15th last year from 10 to 2. You can see it's all chaptered as well. So you can go through and find where you want to look at. So you don't have to watch the whole training video. If you're trying to do something like project setup demo, you can kind of scroll through and find wherever you need to find in there. So helpful videos. This video too will end up there. So you don't necessarily have to go to the YouTube channel. You can view them right inside CMS here. I think that's pretty much it for general functionality training. You got your apps here, search your apps, and you go from there. You can open things pretty quickly from there. So that's general functionality training. Is there any questions on that? Who initiates the tasks, consultant or PM? It depends. Some tasks are initiated by the PM, like the MTO PM. Some of them are initiated by the consultant. When we do submittal packages, you'll see that the package itself is initiated by the PM, but then the items within the packages that are being submitted are initiated by the external PM. So it's both. Control, yes. Control plus the mouse wheel will help you zoom in and out of the system.
I think we have a hand up for a question as well, Ryan.
Yep. Mohammed?
No, sorry, that's old. I'm sorry about that. That's the one from previous when Bonnie was requesting the slide deck. Sorry.
Sorry, no, there's another Mohammed with a question.
Oh, sorry.
Hi. So my name is Alvi. I'm from the traffic office central region. So my question is about the signing feature. So last week, first of all, I don't have access to CMS, but our CSA has access. So I took his help, and we need a document from CMS. It was the DCZ, designation of construction zone. So he found that document there, which was uploaded like 2 years ago, but it was not signed. So I asked him, say that the document is not signed. It's an unsigned copy. I do have an unsigned copy, but I need a document, that the same document which was signed. So it looks like the system, the signing system, I mean, signing a document within the system doesn't imprint the sign on the document itself.
Some of them do, some of them don't. I can't remember. I don't think DCZ captures signatures. It just captures workflow approvals. So you can export the history with the workflow if you want, and that constitutes the signatures.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's for the internal use. But suppose you have to produce a document, a signed document outside the organizations, you have to go to the court and you need a copy of any document which is signed. I mean, the sign is imprinted on the document, but it will not happen if you extract from the system.
When you're clicking approve or whatever you're clicking in the system, that constitutes your signature. So if you're inputting your
I
PIN
understand.
and doing the signature, then yeah.
Yes, I understand. I mean, that is recognized within the industry. But if you are say moving outside, taking the document outside the ministry to another ministry or another office for any legal purposes, how can you do that? Where from you will bring the people who were there at that time who would have signed the document, because the document is not being signed physically, is uploaded into the system and is signed by virtue of the feature which is given in the CMS, and the sign is not being imprinted on the document itself.
Yeah, the system is very much made to work within itself. So a lot of things don't capture signatures, they just capture workflow approvals.
So I do believe that you have to improve that thing, because soon we will be having say everything in the CMS.
Well, attaching signatures to the DCZ is on our enhancement list as well. We've got a
Okay.
list of enhancements that we want to make, so it's on the list of repairs for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Lori?
I just wanted to note that just a couple weeks ago, I did check the DCZ and it does print with the signatures if you go to the report and print from there. So it works. Tried one
Okay.
of mine.
Okay, that's good. I couldn't remember if it captured them on the
Yeah,
portable view or
It
not.
does.
Okay, that's
So,
good.
so maybe it started working now, correct? I mean, the document which was uploaded 2 years back was not with the signatures.
We may have made the change already. I'm trying to remember. I'll just check a DCZ right now.
Okay. Yeah, you can do check now as an exercise to all audience.
Yep, I've got one approved here. Section A. Yeah, there's no signatures. It's just the action taken and the date taken. Olu?
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I just wanted to, to add that it would be very important to have signatures reflect in the DCs.
Yeah.
The example you brought up now doesn't, it doesn't seem to have DCs inserted. I know, in the workflow, there are timestamps and all that, but the DCs need to have actual signatures.
Well, if you remember in WBCMS, the DCZ didn't have signatures either. It had the workflow report printed out, affixed to or suffixed to the end of the report, and that seemed to suffice there.
So there's no way to get DCs somehow embedded into, signatures embedded in the DCs. Is there no way to do that?
There is. It's on our enhancement list to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, we in highway design office will be interested to, to see that happen and to see what that looks like. But it's absolutely important to to have those signatures in the DC.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's a
look
legal
forward to that.
document, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So initially when WBCMS was launched back in 2017, the very first year of the launch, we were using the physical copy and get it signed from all disciplines and the director, and then it was uploaded into WCBMS. That was the first year, and then right after that, we stopped doing so, and the form was uploaded in the system and being signed in the system by the current practice, which do not imprint the signature on the document. And if you have mentioned that this is under review and you will be enhancing the system. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, DCS, not DCZ. What's a DCS?
ECZ.
Design criteria. Someone in the chat said DCS, not DCZ.
Well, no, design of construction, designation of construction zone is another document, and DC is another document. DC is design criteria, that is a different document.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so have we been talking about DC, the design criteria or designation of construction zone?
I was talking about DCZs.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were talking about DCs. I apologize.
DCs.
Yeah.
No, I believe DCs are still signed outside of CMS. We don't have an app for design criterias.
Okay.
They would be part of a submittal that would get signed off through the submittal workflow.
All right, you can't disregard all I said then. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, next question. Adewale.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just wondering, are we not duplicating things? Because presently on e-approval, we process DC, we do a few other things. So are we not going to be duplicating things, or are we going to suspend e-approval and then be moving on to CMS?
I think DC is one of those things that Jamie was talking about is outside of CMS. So it would be approved by e-approvals and then uploaded to File Manager and stored there. Then you can upload subsequent copies to it. Oh, you're muted, Jamie, or I can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now, Ryan?
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah, sorry. My headphones are messing up, I think. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate a couple of things. Signatures in the system, it's the same, approval in the system is the same as providing a written signature. We've had that clarified by legal in the past. We understand that there are some documents where we still want a physical signature, and maybe the design criteria is one of those. But anything that's approved in CMS does not need to be approved through e-approvals. But if it's not a specific approval in CMS, it will still continue to use e-approvals. So I hope that clarifies it a bit, but that's common practice, and we've gotten that opinion, and it's been signed off. So I think in the interest of time, we should keep going, and that's definitely a great conversation. But if there's any more detailed questions around that, we can certainly bring that back and talk a bit further.
Alrighty. We covered that. Covered that. I think we're on to meetings. James, you want to cover meeting minutes?
Yep. Okay, so we'll look at meeting minutes. It's a standard feature in Kahua. We've modified it slightly, but it's still fairly out of the box functionality. So I'll demonstrate how that works. Next slide, please. So within meeting minutes, we have the details. So you can fill out the agenda items or the distribution list or some other things. And then that next, it's pretty small, but the next sheet there shows you can fill in your attendees within the meetings application. And then there's also meeting items you can fill out. So you can create new items and call them, I think they're defaulted new business, but you can change them to old business if you like. And then within those items, you're able to create something called an action item. So at the fourth image there, so that'll create a task that you can assign to someone specific. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we'll go into demo. Just share my screen here. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so we're looking at meeting minutes. So I'll go to the, I have it pinned here. Normally you can go into apps. I have it pinned, so I'll just select meeting minutes. So once you get into here, there at the top, you'll see there's a new, it says new in blue. So you can click on that and that will allow us to create something new. So you'll see it opens up for us in the right side of the screen here. So I'll just enter in a demo meeting, call it demo meeting for now. The next one here is we have contract type. So we can, there's a drop down, we can do construction or engineering. So we'll pick engineering for this. After that, we have another drop down, which is type. So there's a whole list. If you scroll down, you can see all the different types of meetings that you can set up. So I'll just pick one of these. We'll do coordination. After that, you can now put in your meeting time. So you just enter that on your keyboard if you like, 10 o'clock. And then you can switch between AM and PM as well. It's going to default the meeting to an hour, and you can change that to half an hour or longer if you like. And it's going to default the end date to the same date, just for simplicity. Next in here, you can put your location. So if you have a Teams meeting, you can just put that in there. If it is a Teams meeting and you want to add a URL, you can go to your Teams calendar. You can copy your meeting from Teams or Outlook, and then you can enter the URL here. So I'll just enter one that I have copied already. I'll click add, and you'll see that shows up there. You can hit the little pencil, and you can just relabel that something more simple so it's not so long. I'll just do Teams URL. And then you can select OK, and then that will change your link to that shorter description. After that, we have our meeting notes. So in here, you can put your agenda if you like, and just fill in your items. Continue to do that. It's just like a Word document, so you can fill in whatever you need to there. The next thing here is your meeting chair will be filled in as yourself, and then you can also distribute this to anybody that you would like to attend your meeting. So just put Jamie there. Go. Pop up. There's the number one there, and then you can keep adding to that if you like. So after that, you can go back to the top and there's another section called attendees. So you can go to the attendees and you can insert everybody that you want at that meeting. If you click the blue insert on any page, they all look the same. It'll insert a new line for you. You just have to fill it out line by line. If you make this 2, for instance, and then click insert, it'll insert 2 lines for you. So I will just go ahead and add some names here. And I'll add Ryan. And then you also have the option to make them optional or not. So if I can click Ryan as optional, you can do that. So the next thing here is I'll go to the meeting items. So again, same thing, you can insert 1 or more lines. If I put 3 and then click insert, it's going to show me 3 new lines. And then I can just type in my subjects for the meeting. Just put these as a kind of an example, and then you can give them due dates. You can also open this up if you want to see it larger by clicking the expand button. And that will open it up. So you can just give these things a due date. So if my meeting was tomorrow, I can just put that in for each one of these. And then you can give them a category as well. So I'll just put coordination for each one of them. And then if these were old business, you can change them all to old business if you like. And then you can click down in the top right corner. And now we can click save and close. That's at the bottom there. And then you'll notice that that record now shows up at the top. So that's our demo meeting. It's called active. So now you know what it's been scheduled or considered active. So now if we go back into this meeting, if we want to open it up just by clicking it, it'll show us all our saved data that we just had. So if we go down, sorry, at the top here, there's the edit button. So again, anything in blue you can click on. So now I can edit the document. So now if the meetings occurred and I wanted to, let's say someone did some meeting minutes in Word, and we wanted to upload those, we could click the upload and the attachments. And then we could just take our meeting minutes file, we can open that up, and then that will save to the attachments. So once we've done that, then we can go into our attendees and we can check off who attended. So if Jamie was in attendance, I can put present. If Ryan wasn't there, I can put absent. Then we can continue on to meeting items. So in here, if there was a new item that came up, we could insert that new item. Call it new item 4. And let me just open that up a little bit larger here. So that will be new business. We can say we want that new item done by Friday. So I'll put that in there for Friday. Again, the calendar picker, you can select your date. And then I'll add something that came up. So it'll be a deficiency. So that would be click done now, and that will be saved. Now, if I want to click, if I want to make an action item from that deficiency new item, we can create that by opening it up. And at the very bottom here, just takes a minute to load. There's something called action item. Just going to scroll all the way to the bottom. And again, you'll see the insert. So we can click on the insert and then we can assign someone an action item. So if I wanted to assign Ryan, there it is. I can assign Ryan something from the meeting related to that item 4. And then it'll be due Friday. And then if you click create task, I'll open this up again with the expand button. So you'll have this create task box. You can click on that. And then he can fill that out once it's complete. And the status here as well. So it's not started. I'll click done. And now we'll have that action item for Ryan. Click done again at the top right. And then I will save and close that record. So now Ryan will get that task to complete that action item. So once Ryan's or whoever I assign it to would complete that task, then we would go in there and we could make sure that the action item is completed. And if it was, we can click mark complete. So at this point, all our actions are completed. Our meeting items are updated. Our attendees were updated to present and absent. We have our meeting minutes included in the attachments. So at this point, we can click close and distribute. And now those minutes will be sent out to all the attendees and also the distribution lists that you had set up. The other thing to note too, just for here, like if you did want to set up another meeting in the future, there's a copy button, so you could click copy. And then you can just change your next meeting and you could add that in there, new times, save and close that, and then you'd have your next meeting set up. That. Ryan, if you want to take it back. the screen.
Just
Alrighty.
wanted to address a couple of the
Yeah.
comments in the chat as well. So that's a great demo of the functionality that the Meetings app has. You can see it's fairly robust. You can track tasks and items, upload documents, build your agenda right in there. However, the use of the Meetings app is flexible to the way that you want to use it for your assignment. We certainly encourage taking advantage of that functionality, but it's, you know, you can still use Teams or Outlook to set up your meeting and just store documents. You can use this for the full suite of meetings, but I think there are some real benefits, but it's not intended to, you know, create duplicate work, whatnot. There's flexibility built in. So that's just a great app that's out of the box that we customized a little bit for engineering, but feel free to utilize it and however it works best for your project. Sabrina, you've had your hand up for a little bit. Do you want to ask a question? Oop.
You're muted, Sabrina or Sabina.
Oh, sorry about that. I had some questions about the categories. When you were categorizing stuff, I noticed the items had construction activity stuff like deficiency punch list and that sort of thing. Can the items be customized so that we can do engineering type items?
We should be able to. Those come out of the box. Like Kahua is a construction management platform in its essence. So those we haven't chosen those at all. Those are just what kind of came with it. So we can look into customizing those. Yeah.
Okay, so it would be customized through the custodians of CMS, not me as a user going in and I can self-customize based on my needs.
I mean, anything's possible. We'll look into if it can be customized by the user basically and just have a blank field where you type things in. Okay,
that would be great. Thanks, Ryan. The other question I had was when the demonstration was happening, it was said that the meetings would be distributed once all the action items are complete. Is it possible to distribute those minutes with incomplete action items?
I'm not sure. It's a good question. We'll have to play around with it and find out.
Okay. And my last question was current system or the old system right now is my consultant sends me draft minutes before they get distributed to the team and we have some back and forth on that. Is that still going to be done by email, and then when it's finalized they can attach the final minutes and then distribute it to the team? Or is it the back and forth supposed to be done? Okay, great. Thanks, Ryan.
Like if it was me personally, I would have my minutes in a Word doc and be taking them that way and then kind of distribute them amongst the group. And then once they're finalized and everyone's happy with them, upload them to CMS as kind of the final minutes record.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ryan.
Yep. One thing I missed in the general functionality training that came up in the chat was a question of user guides, or are there screenshots and step-by-step user guides to go by? And there absolutely are. If you go to our technical publications page, click on technical documents, and then you have a CMS tab here. We've got all of our cheat sheets and our information updates and user guides here for here's invoices for engineering assignments. So if you search engineering at the top, you should be able to get a good group of engineering user guides. Here's one for user management, warranty, stuff like that. So a lot of them are here for construction, but there's a few pages of them, I believe, or just this page. And then there are, where's the archive documents here? Archive CMS, you can see all our CMS email updates. We put out updates with information pertaining to whatever we're working on, updates, bug fixes, stuff like that, just pieces of information for people. So these are historical as they're in the archive documents, but as they come out, they get posted to technical publications as well. So you'll all get an email from me with a CMS update. It'll have construction and engineering stuff on it. It goes to all licensed users in the system, of which we have over 1,700 users right now in the system. So everyone gets an email blast from us with the latest information and updates, release notes, stuff like that. Okay, good discussions. Moving on. So the design issues tracker and project construction report. So we worked with Mike Pearsall's group last year to kind of combine these two reports. So the project construction report in construction and the design issues tracker in engineering are basically the same thing. They're reports that dispose how the job went, any risks that were encountered on the job, all the goods, the bads, the lessons learned, all that kind of stuff. So we combine them and they flow through engineering and construction. So they start in engineering as the design issues tracker. You fill it out that way. And then it goes through an approval stream and then goes down to construction. So it automatically pulls in contract data like dates, change requests, and change orders. It allows the creation of issues and milestones with comments and dates. Issue types include all these here. I won't read them all to you. The DIT is meant to be a living document, so it's meant to be something that you work on throughout the project and populate throughout the project. As things arise, you jot them down in the DIT, save it, and go back to your work. When the design project is complete, the DIT is finalized and circulated for approval. The approval stream is the PM, the area manager of engineering, and then the head of engineering. Distribution members are added to the distribution list. So you can see here, this is taken from the DIT header. This is the mandatory folks that have to be added to the distribution list, and then the optional ones. So depending on your assignment, you can add these people as an option. So we put them in there as a thought prompt just to help you go, okay, I got to add the manager of engineering, got to add the program delivery manager, contract management office, so on, just to help you populate those distribution lists. This is the workflow of the DIT. So you can see it starts here in engineering by the PMPERA. PMPERA is the project manager, project engineer, retainer, administrator, depending on what type of assignment you have. We just called it that. It's completed in engineering, and then it goes through its approval stream to the area manager, to the head of engineering, and then once it's done, they submit to construction and it comes down to construction. In construction, this benefits them because they have kind of the backstory of the engineering assignment, the design efforts that went into it, the risks that were identified and mitigated, how they were mitigated, what sort of risks can be anticipated on the project, that sort of thing. It helps in construction so that when they realize a risk, they don't have to reinvent the wheel and start from scratch. They can look at the DIT and say, oh, okay, this was an identified risk there. This is how they thought to mitigate it. This is how they did. And this is what we can do. It kind of helps get you a couple steps ahead. This is the construction workflow here. Construction has it go up to the manager of construction, not just the head. And then once it's done, it's done. We'll do a quick demo of the DIT here. Sign in again. Sabina?
If you can go back to the workflow, please. It's just the previous slide. Where, yeah. So it jumps from area manager to head of engineering. It looks like there's a position missing there.
Which position is that?
Yeah, like right now it would go to my area managers, and it would go to the head of project delivery, and then the head of engineering program delivery, which is the old manager of engineering. So there's a step that's kind of missing there on the PD side.
Okay, this was what was provided to us when we were gathering discovery for DIT.
Yeah, but that's yeah, that's missing that person. Is that person included in the previous slide where it says these are the mandatory people that have to review the document?
They should be, manager engineering program delivery.
Yeah, but not project. Yeah, you're still missing the head of engineering project delivery, which is the old head of P&D. That's not on there.
Is that not head of engineering now?
No. No, manager
who-
of engineering is, I think, program delivery, engineering program delivery, and then head of planning and design is now head of project engineering project delivery. Maybe you can go back, take a look at that, and come back to us later.
Brian, I think it's just a misnaming. So you've got head of engineering, you should just have head of project delivery, that's all. So it's just a misname, that's okay.
Okay, so maybe
Yeah.
we can fix that in the roster role.
Yeah.
Okay,
And one
thanks.
question, one quick question too. You've got design issue tracker and project construction report, two live documents that go together. But design issue tracker, is that not what's after the PCR?
My understanding is it's recorded during the design project.
Okay.
Which comes
All right, something
obviously
that we can
before the
always review
construction
afterwards.
project, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I just search DIT, comes up here. I'm going to create a new one for fun. Put in your title, your GWP number. And then you can actually link the design contract here. This is how it pulls in all the commercial information. Whoops. There it is. This comes later in the PCR portion where they link the construction and the CA contract. Put the highway in. From here to there, here's that distribution list that is in the slideshow. So it's put right here just so you can remember. Once I save, all these roles are going to be filled out with whoever's in the roster role. I should show the roster role too, actually. Sorry, not to get sidetracked, but the roster is everyone who's on the project. So you'll see my name everywhere just because this is a test contract, but you would populate this with the specific area manager, the specific head of functional office, the manager of engineering. In fact, the manager of engineering is probably auto-populated because it's the same for all contracts. So on and so forth down here. So when the system is programmed to say, okay, we need to take this record to the area manager for approval, it's going to come here and pick the name of that person from here. And that's how they decide, that's how the system decides who to send the task to. So down here, these are going to pull from the roster role when I hit save. Here's the distribution list. You can add whatever names in there, just like any other distribution list, you can add multiple. Here's the phase of it. So if I was in construction and I wanted to start a PCR in kind of isolation of a DIT, I could just click construction here and then this would become a PCR, but we want to keep it a DIT, so we'll keep it in design phase. This stuff should all be auto-populated as it gets approved. So the design DIT workflow approval dates, once it gets approved, these dates get populated here. And then the issues milestone. So this is where most of your bread and butter of the application is. You can add 10 lines if you like. There, and then you can just start filling them out. Issue type, so milestone, issue, risk, schedule, safety, design, coordination, communication, materials, utilities, other. That's how you can categorize what your issue is or what your milestone is. We'll call this an issue. There's an action item, which is non-mandatory, and construction commitments. If I want to delete these, I can delete those. And then if I want more space to write an actual report. You've got lots of space to type there. Just going to save this. I don't know why it's taking so long to save. There we go. And you come down. So you can see here it pulls in automatically number of approved change requests, 0, 0. I don't have any on this contract. Number of approved change orders. This would all populate automatically for you, summing up the total net value of the change orders as well. That's basically all there is to it. You keep filling out, you go edit here. You can keep filling out more milestones or issues as you go. And then once you're done, you go through the submittal process or the approval process. Oh, delivery year and program year are needed. I missed them somewhere. Delivery year and program year. Here we go. Those should be red. I go through submit. Oh, project roster role. Okay, I must be missing a roster role somewhere. I've had this issue somewhere else too in the system. But that's the DIT. It would go through the approval workflow that we showed on the screen there. We'll have to take a look at that again. Maybe rename the roster role. And that's about it. This is the construction portion of it. It's a lot longer for construction. Okay, looks like Jamie's keeping up to the questions. Thank you. File manager. James, you want to do file manager?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So yeah, file manager is a place to store projects. There are permissions in here, so you can have security and subfolder permissions related to certain objects or items that are stored within the CMS applications. Go to the next slide, please. So File Manager, again, is very similar to Microsoft File Explorer on your computer. The folder template was developed by the same team who helped us develop the other CMS applications. So we standardized and took multiple regions file folder standards and sort of created a provincial hybrid for it. And in part for auditability related to the Audit General's report. So that being said, you're still able to customize folders and create new folders as needed. And again, it's just like creating file folders within Windows. So it's not too complex there. So I'll jump into our next slide, I guess. Okay, yeah, so I'll jump into the demo here. Steal the screen. Okay, you can see that.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, we're in the home page again. So I pinned this on the left here. So File Manager, I'll click on that. And that'll bring us into the standard File Manager application. So you'll see the different files here, project info, contract submissions. So I can select one of these, it'll open up so you can see what files are set up for you here. So here's the standard information. Then we have contract submissions, so I'll open that one up. So here where documents can be submitted, if they aren't submitted through the Submittals app, they can be put in here. Some things here, like consultant files, are kind of pre-system. And then if we go into any one of these folders, so if I click on contract submissions, for example, if you right click on it and hit properties, that's at the very bottom of the dropdown. That'll open up your properties. So you have details, permissions, notifications, and configuration. So when you go into permissions, the second one there, it's going to open up and allow you to see who can access those folders. So I'll exit out of that. And then again, for any one of these, you can create folders at the top here or add files to the file manager. So if you want to jump back to the slide deck, Ryan, I think that's everything here.
All righty, thank you. Is there any questions so far on File Manager? All right, so jumping right into submittals. This, I think, is, oh, Sabina?
Sorry for the late hand up. So if it comes in through a submittal, does it automatically get filtered and put into my specialized file, or do I manually have to do that?
If it comes in through a submittal, you can leave it in the submittal because you're going to file and or structure your submittal files after your RFP or RFP or Q. So if it comes in that way, it can live in the submittal document, and that can be the final accepted structure or accepted file. You can manually transcribe them into File Manager if you want, but then you're just going to have the same file in two places. File Manager is meant for things like the design criteria that we talked about earlier that doesn't really have an app or a configured process in CMS to handle it.
Okay, thanks. That makes sense.
Okay. So submittals, this is key functionality for engineering contracts. It's how you receive, track, and review all deliverables from the service provider. So this is kind of, think of it as replacing your email submissions. It's a structured way to intake files that align with the RFP or Q deliverable requirements. So it's developed by MTO with review and consultation from the service provider in mind. Submittals transfers the contractual deliverables required to be submitted under the contract. Submittal packages are used to define and record the following information: identification of the submittal coordinator, so that's typically yourself or the PM from MTO, and the submitter is going to be the service provider PM, and then the distribution list. You can choose whoever you want to be on the distribution list. Submittals are scheduled and submittals and scheduled submission dates. So you can schedule the submission dates when they're supposed to be submitted if you have a schedule tied to them. You can assign reviewers to it, either sequentially or all at once. But when you get a submittal in, you can assign different reviewers. So if you have functional offices to review a geotechnical submission, you can add your geotechnical rep who's on the project. They'll receive the submittal package and then be able to review it and dispose and whether it's accepted or not, and some notes, comments that way. And then you can provide a service provider rating, which ties into the engineering performance appraisal. So this is the submittal packages here. You're going to click new on it. You see you've got subjects, some red fields, the submittal coordinator, which is the required field. That's going to be the PM, PERA, whoever's running the project. You select insert to add reviewers. So you can add different reviewers here. You see at the top, it says sequential review. So if I click that, it's going to go to Arthur, then to James, then to James, then to Olivia. But if I don't click that, it's going to go to all of them at once, and they can all do whatever they want as far as ratings are concerned. They don't have to wait for the next or the person in front of them to be done. Here you're selecting submittal items. So you create one package, and the package is, say, DCPM. And then within that package, you can have multiple items. So you could have the 30%, the 60%, the 90%, and then DCPM all as separate packages. And then within them have items that the service provider is submitting items under. When creating submittal items, the subject line should be filled out. All other information will be inherited from the package. So it kind of fills in a lot of information for you. The submittal items will inherit all available package attributes at the time of creation. So it fills in all this stuff for you. Down here, you've got the subject, description, submittal package. It's easier to go through this in a demo, I find, rather than on the screen. You do have to fill in the required information, subject description, and select applicable submittal package from a dropdown and click Save. So every time you create a submittal item, you have to choose which package it's associated to as a service provider. Service providers will have the ability to add a submittal to the submittal package without engaging a submittal coordinator. So you don't, once the submittal coordinator sets up the package, that's it. It's there. It's available for the service, or yeah, for the service provider to submit under. It kind of creates it, establishes it on the project, and then it's there. They can create more items underneath it too if they need to. Submittal reviews will become a task. So if I'm selected as a reviewer, and I receive a task from a submittal, it's going to fall into my task list here. I can click on it, open it, review the attachments that are the submittals, and then provide comments to the attachments. Let's do a demo. I find it easier to talk through a demo than the slides. We're just going to come up to our apps, search submittal. The cat's looking for attention. Okay, we'll start a new one here. So this is creating a new package. You see the two tabs at the top. I have submittal packages, submittal items. It's taking his time this morning. So here's the screen that we saw from the slideshow. Let's call this DCPM submission description. You can fill that out. This is a highlight hyperlink to the contract. You can go click that and it'll take you to the contract information. The submittal coordinator, I'm going to make as myself. It doesn't necessarily have to be yourself, but it's typically going to be yourself, unless you're setting this up for somebody else. Say your designer could maybe set this up for you and make you the coordinator, so you don't have to do all this stuff yourself. And the submitter would be the service provider, obviously. I'm just going to make it myself, actually, so I can actually submit. Distribution lists, same thing as all records. Most records have distribution lists on them. Won't belabor that. And then insert here. So however many reviewers you want. Here's the contact. As long as they're a contact in Kahua, they can be a reviewer. I can go sequential review if I want them to be in a line. I'm just going to say there's just this one reviewer here. That's it. And then attachments. This is for the service provider, but you can see there's an URL here. So for large files like in Geomatics, because they can't upload multiple gigabytes to this system, there is a file size limit. I can't remember what it is, but I know that a lot of the Geomatics files are much bigger than it. So they can upload an URL to an FTP site or anywhere that they store the actual files to be downloaded. So you can submit a website URL instead of submitting the actual uploaded data if it's too much for the system to handle. I'm just going to hit save here. And it's created my package here. So now if I come over to my submittal items, now I'm the service provider. I want to upload my DCPM submission. I can fill in my description, submittal package. This is where I'm going to choose. Okay, so I'm going to put it under the DCPM submission. You could picture if you had all your RFP deliverables set up there, it would be easy to just pick which one it applied to, and which one you're submitting underneath. There's your contract hyperlinked again. Once I save, I'll get the submittal coordinator and the submitter populating here. And then scheduled submission date. It's not a mandatory field, but we can say it's due next Tuesday. Here you can see the coordinator and the submitter have auto-populated now. It's created the item package. Now I go edit. Here's my URL. So as a service provider, I can upload an attachment or an URL or an attachment. If I upload something here, just from my desktop, upload the CMS email update there. All required documents have been attached. It's going to ask you for that. And then submit. So you can see the submitted date up here is April 1st. Oh, this one. You can see the status of it is in review. You can see here, now I have options as the PMPERA to initiate my review. Here's a response rating. We don't fill that out yet. Paul?
Hi, just a quick question there. There was the checkbox for all documents been submitted. Is it possible to submit without the selection of that box if you're doing an interim submission with half of the materials and then the other half showing later?
I think it's mandatory. I think it's going to make you check that box just to make sure that you do attach something. Otherwise, it's blank. But if you're not submitting a fulsome package, you could describe that in the header, in the title, or the description, and just say this is part A of a 2-part submission for
Perfect.
whatever it is. Yeah.
That's great. Thanks.
Okay, so response comment. I'm going to initiate the review. I have my reviewer right here, Ryan. Initiate that review. You see, you can reject it too right off the bat. If it's missing something, you can reject it and send it back. So here's me. It's in my review. I have a comment section here. I'm going to expand this. And I can fill out my comments in regards to the submission. I can upload things myself if needed. And say whether it's acceptable or not. So now it's back with the PMPERA. I have my comments from the functional office. This is an acceptable submission. I have other comments from them. I can review as noted or reviewed or rejected it. So I'm going to dispose my rating right now as well. I'll say it's satisfactory, rating of 3, and I'll click reviewed. That's it. Now the submission is stored in the submittals package. It's right here for viewing. I can view it in CMS or I can download it if I want. So here it is here. This is what we were looking at earlier on TechPubs. Or I can click this and download it to my desktop if I need to. All right, so that's submittal packages and items. Is the built-in rating function compliant with the Associated Engineering Consultant rating guide? Yes, it should be. We built it in conjunction with Erica Varga's office, who heads up the ratings system. So it should be all good to go. The retention period of project files, attachments, and CMS, I believe, is 7 years required. We migrate the files, so we have CMS for another 7 years, and then we would migrate the files to some sort of repository or the next system. That's what we did with WBCMS. We migrated all the CMS or WBCMS files into CMS when we went live with CMS and shut WBCMS down. You can provide markups to the submittals. Yes, there's a markup option for PDFs in there. It might be too late to show it. But if you view, let me see if I can do it here. Yeah, so you can mark this up here. I know it's really slow. It's probably easier to download something and then upload a marked up version of it. But you can see here, you've got some text tools. Oh, that's a highlighter.
There's specific functionality for drawings as well too that I think is even more detailed than this, but there's a lot of that built into the system.
Yeah, there was a drawing one I'm trying to find here. There we go. So you can mark things up. Oh, it's a little wonky, but you can mark things up and draw right in the submittal item. Does CMS email users regarding action items? Yes. Or do PMs need to do that separately? No, they should get a notification. So when you get a task, you should get a notification email. And if not, you at least get a task. So as long as you're in CMS checking your tasks here, then you've got everything that's waiting for you here. And then if you check those 2 boxes in settings that I showed earlier, right here, you should be getting copies of messages sent to your inbox. All right, so it's 10:30. It's perfect timing for a quick break. Let's take a 10-minute break, come back at 10:40, and we'll continue on with change management. We'll see everyone in 10 minutes. All right, we're at 10:41. Hopefully everyone had a chance to grab a coffee. I did. We're going to get going here with change management. It's one of our more complicated apps, but we've striven to make it as simplified as possible. Once we go through it, I hope it's a little clearer. There's a few steps to it, but there's a few steps to our change management process in general. So we've, I guess, mirrored those in the system. This is the workflow for it. So you can see it started. It can start from a change request, or it can start internally. If it comes in from a change request is received, reviewed, and then DOFMA is obtained on that change request. And then out of the change request, you can create a change management item where DOFMA is pre-approved for it. So you don't have to get it twice on the change request and the change order. Or you can internally initiate a change order yourself without a change request, and that still goes into the change management stream and then gets approved that way. So you create a change initiation. That's kind of your internal working space. That's where, I don't know if we used to use CAS in engineering, but we used to use it in construction. It was like a Microsoft database project file that was used to track all change orders, and it was used to create change orders, create your basis of payment, your scope of work, all that good stuff. The same thing applies here. That's what your change initiation is. You can store supporting documentation in there, and then get DOFMA approval on it. And out of that comes a change order. Then the change order gets created. It goes to the service provider for an estimate, and then comes back for the final price agreement review. Once the price agreement is issued and accepted by the service provider, the workflow is closed. So this is the 4 bases of payments we have in engineering. I know that we typically only have 2 bases of payments, but we had to separate them. Technically speaking, we couldn't do both of them in the same one. So you can't do a lump sum covering all direct and indirect costs for new items and existing items in the same grid. We had to separate those into 2 separate grids. The change orders come with categories as well, so you'll recognize these, as I'm sure. These categories, they're mandatory to be categorized. This is for reporting and for an Auditor General recommendation. We had to better categorize our changes, so we've made these mandatory selections. You have to categorize the change order as to what it is, then you can provide a comment against the category as well. Here's the change management workflow. So the change order is created, it's sent to the SP reviews it, submits an estimate, estimate comes in for review, DOFMA approval if required, if the estimate's higher than what ours was, or initial DOFMA approval was. Otherwise, it comes here where you can issue a price agreement and then end the transaction that way. Here it's going to list, or you select who the service provider is. So you choose who the change order is going to go to from a drop down. And then the distribution list, as always, you can populate the distribution list. So it's like a carbon copy for whoever wants to be copied on the workflow engagement of the change order itself. So you could copy your manager if you wanted to, or copy the PM to make sure they get notifications, whoever you want. These are the different grids. So this is the grid when you populate a basis of payment. This is what comes up. So you can describe it. You enter a description, a reference, and then a total. Here, this is adjusting an existing item. So this is for creating a new item. You create a new item with a description and a total. If you're adjusting an existing one, it's going to have a drop down of your items existing in there, and then your adjusted value for them, or by variation in item quantity. So if you have, this is more for CA contracts, but if you have an hourly rate contract for whatever reason, you can adjust the quantities of the hours that way, and then the unit price of the hours. Creating a change order from initiation record. So what it's going to do, and I know I'll get a lot of emails about this because it threw me for a loop when we first went live in February 2023. When you create the change order, it's going to wipe what your values are in there because the change order is going to the service provider. We don't want to give them our estimate. So you're going to keep your estimate in the initiation tab. And then the change order itself is going to go blank just with the items that you've populated and blank quantities and or prices. This is the button you see to issue change order. Once this is clicked, the change order has officially been issued. And then the service provider receives a review change order task and is required to provide an estimate. So this is where you submit your estimate here. You can request a revision too. So if you're the service provider and you feel they missed something in the change order, you can go, oh, I think you missed item 3. We have to adjust that one. Request revision. Otherwise, you just submit your estimate. And then you get back here. This is the same 3 grids now with the service provider's estimate in there. And then once you get the estimate back from the service provider, you can either revise it. So see here, we have 4,800 total net value, 14,800 absolute value approved. And the estimate was lower. So you can see the DOA status is still approved because we don't need to get more DOA. If this was higher and you disagreed with it, you'd click revise and put your estimate back in there. If not, if you agree with it, you click revise and then hit initiate DOFMA. And the system would recognize that the value of the change order is higher than what DOFMA approval you have and require you to initiate DOFMA again to get higher approval. DOFMA is based on the standard DOFMA workflow charts. So, just heard someone hang up. This is the final acceptance screen for the service provider. They can either accept, request revision again, or accept undisputed amount. This more so comes out of construction, but it still applies to the service provider and engineering. If there's a disputed amount on the change order and they feel like the change order should be higher, they can accept undisputed amount and then endeavor after dispute resolution to get what remaining value they feel they're owed. So it's kind of a thought prompt to contractors and service providers to say, hey, you can't bind up the change order process. This is what we're willing to pay you. You have to go down to dispute resolution if you want to get paid more for it. So those 2 buttons do the same thing. Very last thing you do with a change order is you create a transaction. That's like putting it on the tender items list. It's like putting it on the contract. So you're changing the contract, and this is the actual mechanism that changes the contract. Nothing's official until you create a transaction. Okay, let's do a change management demo. Sign in again.
Ryan, you've got a couple hands up maybe before you start your demo.
Sure, yeah, thank you. Jacob?
I just had a quick question. I was hoping to ask it before we went through the next session during the break, but before you had mentioned there's key deliverables need to be submitted through Kahua, but there wasn't anything provided in addition to that, and it's kind of vague. Is it just based off of MTO PM, or is it what would be defined within the MTO terms of references for sections 3.2 and 4.3, or because I'm working on an traditional MTO assignment with Olu right now, and it's not explicitly defined within the terms of reference, and I just wanted a little bit more clarification on documentation that must be submitted within Kahua.
Well, I think the line is if it's a defined deliverable in the contract, then it should be submitted through submittals. And if it's something that has to be reviewed by multiple people, it should be submitted through submittals.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Hope that makes it clear. Yeah. Devin?
Yes, thank you. The invoicing demo that you did right now, like currently PMs and PEs are responsible for preparing the documentation, such as the CO, the PA, and the COAS, and then communication of those, like of the CO and PA, is done by the EST currently. what's the expectation? Like, is this being uploaded to PMs and PEs as part of their responsibility, or is what you've shown still a function of the EST role?
No, it'll be the PMPERA who's creating the change order and issuing it. The COACE is created automatically by the system and follows it through for DOFMA approval. Follows it that way, but it's the PM who sets up the change order and issues it. The MPO PM.
Okay, because that's a change from how we have been doing things. Is that just a function of onboarding CMS and additional responsibilities?
Well, the ministry is responsible for controlling the contract, and change management is part of that control, right? So as the PMP, you should be issuing change orders and creating them yourself.
Yeah, like we would draft the documentation, but once it's signed off from us, like it goes up to OFMA, it gets approved, and then the EST manages that aspect of communication and getting the documentation signed.
Oh, the system takes care of that for you. The system will notify each DOFMA approver that there's something requiring their approval. They click their task, it presents the document in front of them, and then they can either reject or accept based on their review. If you want to, you can put the EST in the distribution list, and then they get notified of each workflow step as well, so they can track it throughout. That'd be a good way to keep them
I think
apprised.
there's just a missing, like a missing communication to staff on that end.
Perlette has her hand up, and I think she has some experience with this. Did you have
Okay.
something to add, Perlette?
Oops, sure. Thanks, Jamie. So my question is regarding the CO and PA. Currently, once the COACE is approved, the price agreement and change order goes out to the service provider. They sign it, then they send it back to MTO. MTO's PM signs off, and then that's the formal agreement. Do we still need that process, or do they need to upload it in CMS, the signed price agreement and change order?
The change order and the price agreement will be signed in CMS. So the only difference in this is the MTO signs the change order first.
Okay, thank you.
Which is required to issue it, right? Like
It's
issuing a
currently
blank
we
change
email
order.
it, right? Currently it's
Yeah.
emailed, so that will not be required. It will be done in CMS then?
Yep. Yeah, you shouldn't have to email anything.
Great, thanks.
Does that help, Devin?
Yeah, it does. If there is some type of governing communication that would outline like just that change in process, just by a function of using CMS, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
Some of our dollar values are fairly high, depending on the scope of the change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we use this process in construction too. We do $10 million change orders, no problem, all approved in the system, with no need to go outside of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so change management. I've got a brand new slate here. I'm going to start a new one from scratch. This change management tab is really just a shell that carries through the title and the contract itself. This is where a change request would fall into. So if you have a signed change request that's approved for DOFMA, it falls into a change management tab, and then you come here and create the change order, or initiation, I should say. So I've got create initiation, got a window that pops up here. I'm going to start processing. You see up here the tab switches from change management to initiation. Now I've got my service provider, so I choose who the service provider is going to be each time. It's not based on the roster role. So you send it to your PM. Here's my change order categories. It's mandatory, don't forget. It's not expanded by default, so it's kind of hidden there. It trips me up sometimes. You choose the category, and then there's a mandatory comment against the category. You can see here it's red. So you put a comment there. Here's a change order type. It's either change in the work or $0 change order. Let's just do a change in the work. We describe the scope of work, anticipated services and deliverables end date, if that applies. And then you choose your basis of payments. And as you choose basis of payments, they pop out below here. So here, this is for a new item. I can create a new item here. Add a dollar value, $100. I can create, or I can also alter an existing item. Oh, I don't have any items on this contract yet. I just set it up recently, so there's no items here. So we'll create a new item. Unhighlight that. So I've got a new item here, test for $100. Submit this. Then it's got to go for DOFMA approval. So I've got this button here, initiate DOFMA, delegation of financial management authority. So then I click on here, it's going to go to the first person. I believe the head of engineering is the first person in the list. Here's your COACE. Populates with the information here. And then I hit approve, enter my PIN. And it's approved for $100 now. Now you'll see the DOA status is approved for $100. And this is the value of the change order down here is $100. So I'm going to create change order. I'm all ready to go. Start processing again. You'll see up here, I go from the initiation tab to the change order tab, kind of working our way over here. Now you see here, it's blank. So it says $0. And down here, it's been wiped. So this is what I was talking about. When you create the change order, it wipes itself. It keeps the test description. So the service provider knows what they're submitting their estimate for, but it wipes this so we don't give our estimate away. Save this change order and then issue. So now it's in the service provider's court. They can see this is what the service provider will see. So I see, okay, there's a test, an item here called test with a blank amount. I'll put 200 as my estimate. Submit that estimate. Click back on it again. So you see here, now the value of the change order is $200 because of the estimate of the service provider. So the DOA status is required because we only have $100 approval in the DOA status. So now I'm going to hit revise. I have two options. I can either go with their estimate and get more DOFMA, or I can revise the estimate back down to 100, which was my original one, or anywhere in between, really. So here, I'm going to revise this back to 100. Julia, you have a question?
No, I don't. Sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand.
You just wanted to clap because it's such an entertaining presentation.
Absolutely, it's wonderful.
Okay, so we're back at 100. This is a price agreement now that I'm issuing. So I've reduced the price agreement amount to 100. I'm going to issue price agreement. Now these are those final buttons that we saw: accept or accept undisputed amount. Service provider can see, okay, I'm getting $100 for this item. Fine, I wanted 200, but I'll take 100. I'll accept that. Now there's just the transaction to create. And make sure when you create the transaction, it's a little confusing. There's a button here, obviously, to create transaction. If you try, it'll tell you to go from the source record, because this is actually a task. So transactions must be created from the source document. Okay. So all you do is click on it here. Go view source record. And then create transaction. You see we move over to the transactions tab up here. Gives you all the information of the transaction, the test description there, lump sum, there's our $100. We just hit save. You can't undo accept if something arises. No, once you accept it, it's accepted. And that's it. That's all there is for transactions and for change orders.
Ryan, I have a quick question.
Yep.
So if the service provider has supporting documentation, is there somewhere they can upload that in addition to what they've keyed in CMS?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Right at the bottom. Right here. And
Perfect,
likewise
thanks.
for MTO, like if we're issuing new terms of reference or something like that, or anything that where we need to introduce documents into the contract, you would upload them here.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along, invoices. So all service provider invoices will be entered and approved in CMS. This is the workflow for invoices. So invoices are a little complicated because I understand each region does them differently. So what we have is a portable file. So if this workflow doesn't serve your region and you don't want to switch to this workflow, you can export the invoice and have it reviewed or approved by whoever you want that way. But we had to choose one workflow for the system, and each of the 5 regions does invoices differently. So we chose the most simplistic one. And then from there, you can export if you need to and have it approved by whoever you want. Ooh, make this big. So first up, when you create a new invoice, this contract should be auto-populated. If it's not, you just click a drop down and choose your contract and then click next. You set your period from to dates, as well as any invoice reference number you want. So this could be your own company's invoice reference number. There's a PPS reference number that can be filled out by the EST later on. And then any notes, and again, distribution list there. If anyone wants to be apprised of the workflow actions of the invoice, it's always good to put them there. You could put the EST there so that they know how it's going through, how it's doing. As an EST, you navigate to the Invoices app. So the invoice first comes into the EST to make sure that it's sound and to make sure that it's proper. And then it goes to the PMPERA for approval. And then it goes back to the EST for processing and PPS. So CMS and PPS are not connected. They're not integrated fully. So the payment is still a manual transcription from CMS into PPS. So you plunk the numbers in from CMS into PPS, pay it that way, and then come back to CMS and click process to show that the invoice has been processed in CMS. Then you click initiate in PPS, and that's all you need to do. I'll do a demo specifically of how to populate the invoice. The slides don't really speak to it, but it's all about populating the invoice. So invoices are in your contracts tab. So if you go to contracts, they're up here. Invoices here. I've got one ready to go. I just click a new one just for fun. See my contract is automatically populated up here. I just click next. My period from to date. So let's say this is March's invoice. Invoice reference number. None of these are mandatory fields. Notes can go here. Distribution list. Attach Jamie there. Vendor HST, you can fill that in, your HST number. You can see the change order we just did there for $100. The value of the contract's 1.6 million. We've got a change order for 100 million or $100 there. And then here's all our items. So you click show all. It gives you all the items with how much they're worth here. And then you've got quantity here. So this 20,000 is because on the previous invoice, I billed 20,000 against this item. So here I can put in a quantity, prorate the item. So it's basically like putting in a percentage. I want 25% of this. I want whatever percent. You can expand this out to. You can put in a, I think up to 6, 7, 8, 9 digits. So you can get really accurate with your prorating of the percentage to try and get the exact amount you're looking for. It's going to represent $12,345.68 payment on this item. And then I just go down my different items like this and bill against them as I see fit. Maybe this one's 50% done. 0.5%, sorry. 0.5, so that's for 50,000 because the item's 100,000, so on and so forth. When I'm done, I click done. And then save. So now the invoice is populated and ready to go. I can see I'm billing $87,445.68 here. HST total, and then 3 items that I'm billing. Plus there's that changing item 3 of the contract, transaction 1 that we just did for $100. Submit this. Oh, this is a thing we have in place. You should only have one open invoice at a time. It's hard on the system to have multiple draft invoices, so try and only have one invoice at a time. So now this is with the EST. You see they have provide additional information. So if there's something off with the invoice, if it's not correct, they can send it back. This reset to draft is just a button for domain admins like myself, so you won't be able to see this button, but we can reset it for you if we need to. If there's issues with the invoice, we can reset it to draft and delete it and then try starting again. Up here, if you need to take the invoice out of the system, there's this invoice items PV, and it breaks down the items. You can pop it open into a browser here and download it. Pops open the items. It shows what quantities are being billed, what amounts being billed on this invoice. And then I noticed this morning amount in dollars is blank, so I submitted a ticket to have that repaired. I don't know why it's not showing the total invoice amount, but it should be. It shows you the total percentage complete on the job, all that good stuff. So you could use this to pass it around to additional reviewers if you need to. And that's in the view. Come up here and click view. Then invoice items details. And then we just keep going. So recommend, EST recommends it to the PM. This is warning me that there's draft invoices before this one. So I shouldn't be doing this, but hey. There it is. And then the approve button for the PM. And then all there is to do is process for the EST. I'm not going to do that because it's out of order, but you click, so the EST takes the amount here, takes the breakdown of the invoice, pops over to PPS, plunks it in there, issues the payment, comes back to CMS and clicks process. Oh, I just clicked it. Oh well. You notice there's not delete up here. You can delete it when it's in draft mode. Or now, I guess. Now when it's completed. But we try not to delete processed invoices. Brulette?
Does the service provider get a notification once the EST clicks that button to say the
No.
invoice is paid?
No, not unless they are in the distribution list.
Okay. And my other question is, where do I put as the EST, put the payment certificate number from PPS? Because that's a great reference if we need to go back and check.
You'd put it, there's a PPS reference number right in here. Right here, PPS reference number.
Okay, so before we click initiate, we just add it there then?
Yeah, if you click edit on the record and then plunk it in there.
Okay, great. And my last question is, so recently I had a situation where the system skipped one payment number or one invoice number. So the first invoice was issued, and then when the service provider submitted their next invoice, instead of it going to number 2, it skipped right to number 3. Is there a reason why it would do that? And it didn't notify us.
That's probably because they had number 2 in draft and then left it sitting there, abandoned it, and then went with invoice 3. Because the system will auto number at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Right.
So they must have, if you write into or shoot me an email, Perlette, and I can look at it because I can see draft invoices. I don't think you can.
No, I couldn't. Sure, I'll do that. Thank you.
I can take a look. Yeah. Adewale?
Yes, thank you. Usually what we have is the service provider submitting its invoice and we review and we process it. So how does it work here?
Same thing. They create an invoice, they populate it, they submit it. It comes into the EST, and then it goes to the PM for approval, and then back to the EST for processing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, the PM is now the only one to approve the invoice once the EST has reviewed it. It no longer goes to the area manager head. It doesn't go to the area manager head in CMS. If you still want it to, you can export the invoice and send it to them. There's not enough info to process invoices within the shell. SP should submit the actual invoice. There's no invoice number. So they can put their invoice number in the invoice reference number right here if they need to. That's what that's designed for. In the head area. And I can't read that. Can the head area manager, head PD be added to the approval process with invoicing? Otherwise, we are creating extra work going outside of the system for approvals. They can be for a lot of money. We can change the system always. I can put it on the enhancement list. Like I said, each region does their approvals differently. So if we add those folks to it, it's not going to serve other regions. So we kept it as simple as we can. If you have to go outside the system to send the invoice to an approver, then that's what we've got to do for now. Yeah, invoices always go to area manager and head, so I think that should be part of the workflow in CMS. They don't always go, it depends what region you work in. Provincially, we're dealing with 5 regions and 5 different workflows for invoices. That's the issue. Why does each region process invoices differently? Should this not be standardized? That's what we're trying to do, is standardize it now. Yeah, most regions follow it. We can put it on the enhancement list if that's what's required. Sabina?
Yeah, Ryan, I think it's just the project delivery office that operates differently, and then that's where the bulk of the invoices come from. Because we have the head of project delivery, which is a position between area manager and the old manager of engineering, whereas all the other input offices, they have their head and then manager of engineering. And we do generate most of the invoices in engineering. So I do appreciate you adding this to the list, and hopefully it does get changed.
Alrighty, I'll add it to the list. We had to change the workflow of invoices in construction too after we went live. We had to adapt it, so it's not something we haven't had to do before. Okay, let's move along here. We still have some content left. Engineering performance appraisals. So I'm going to go over EPAs at a high level, but I'm not going to demo them because they're fairly complex, and we're going to run some EPA training in itself, like standalone, just for an hour. So we'll just touch on it now, but it's something that probably takes an hour itself to go through. Same as the CAPA, the Contract Administrator Performance Appraisal in Construction. We're going to be running training for that standalone soon, and it'll be an hour as well. So we'll just touch on this quickly for the sake of time. Okay, EPAs. As a PM, you navigate to the EPA app, you click new to create the record, you can fill out the required information and click save, and then click proceed to specialty review. So what the EPA does is tie in those ratings that we were giving on the submittal apps. So the submittals come in. Once the submittal gets reviewed by the functional office or by the reviewers, whoever's reviewing it, it comes back to the PM, and the PM disposes a rating. That rating is going to get pulled into the EPA record when you're completing your rating for the service provider. So as a PM, you navigate to the EPA app, you click new, fill out the required information, click save, click proceed to specialty review, click send. So you see here, this is the send button that you send to each person for them to dispose a rating. Here they can insert a comment. So this is what they get when it's sent to them. They fill in a comment, they can insert here, choose which submittal package it is, what the rating will be, what the score is, the weight. The weight should be automatically populated by the EPA as it's filled out by the PM. Then you can click send to manager. It gets sent to the management for review. As a manager section head, you navigate to the task and open the relevant task, review the record, Click save as many times as you need to. You can click more information to send the record back if you don't like the rating or you have questions or you want edits to it. Otherwise, you can click approve on the rating. The engineering performance appraisal is now with the PM to issue to the service provider. As a service provider, you navigate to tasks and open the relevant task again. You click the save button to save as a draft. Click request appraisal review meeting or level 1 appeal if you want. That's built into the system. If they request an appeal, it comes back to the PM, who can alter the rating if they want to. If not, they can leave it the way it is and then reissue to service provider. As a service provider, you can navigate to your task again. It's going to produce a task for you. You click the save button to save as a draft. Click the level 2 appeal button. The engineering performance appraisal is now with the Secretary Qualification Committee if they click level 2 appeal. This is what the Secretary sees. A PDF copy of the final decision has been uploaded. So there's that little check there to make sure they've uploaded it. They'll have a document to upload. Secretary will review the rating, change it if required, and then issue the final decision. As the SQC, you navigate to the relevant record, the engineering performance appraisal application, review the record and make sure any intended changes, populate the change request review section, attach a final decision document, click save, click issue final decision. The EPA is now closed. A notification is sent to inform the service provider of the engineering performance appraisal outcome. Notification is also sent to the EST requesting to upload the record to RACS. Oh, RACS SEP. We'll skip the demo for now, to be continued in a later training session. Is there any questions on that? I know it was high level. All right. Oh, Perlette.
Ryan, is there a report that we can run to see what are the upcoming appraisals? So if someone were to submit one and then a follow-up would be due in a year, is there a report that helps the CST to see what's coming up?
It's a good question. We can create a report and it would have at least the dates of execution of the EPA. And then you could determine from the dates what a year from then, what a year from then would look like. But we don't have a report specifically designed for that now. No, we can look into it though.
Thank you.
Milestones. James, you want to do milestones?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Milestones app, again, it's another standard Kahoot application, so it can be used to track project schedule, key milestone dates. Go to the next slide. So milestones are meant to be used for anything you want to be tracked or anything that needs to be tracked. So you can track any key dates or maybe some reporting information. And then you'll see in there, there's predecessors and successors. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so milestone demo. Share my screen here. Okay, so again, we'll go to the Milestones app. I have it pinned to the left here. So similarly to the other applications, you hit new for a new milestone. That'll open up on the right side of your screen here. It'll auto-populate your number in sequence from the last one. So we can just enter in our description. Just generic for now. And then also you can put your notes in here. So you can just add whatever you would like there. The character limit's pretty high, so you can enter as much as you like. You shouldn't run out of space. Then below here, you can add your estimated start date, estimated completion dates. So I will just throw in some dates here. Again, you can use that calendar picker. And then below here, You'll have your predecessors. So typically when you see this, you have a drop-down list. So you can just click any one of the previous milestones. So that will be needed before you can complete this one. And then you have your successors. And then you could also upload documents here by clicking the upload button again to add any reference that you need. And then you hit save close. And that's all your milestones. I guess we can go back to the presentation there, Ryan.
All right. Just taking a note there. I think that's all we have. Yeah. So this is going to be your best friend when you start using MTO CMS, your best friend or your worst enemy, depending how quickly we can get back to you. But this is our help desk. So all questions, inquiries, concerns can come to mtocms@ontario.ca. We have a 3-tiered support desk system. So MTO triages all business questions first and foremost. It all comes to us. And then if we can't solve it or there's a technical issue or a bug or something like that, we escalate it to KPMG. KPMG can resolve most of those bugs. And if we can't, it's escalated to Kahua, where the Kahua engineers get involved and solve it. So hopefully you don't have an issue that's escalated to Kahua, because then it's a doozy. But we do have a good layered approach to the help desk that seems to have been working well for us. These are some training resources. So I already took you through the MTO technical publications. Look there for all our user guides and our updates. Externally, there's CMS contact info, user guides, tip sheets, weekly updates, and training presentations, all on the tech pubs. And then internally, we have this SharePoint here that you can access through the slides with some internal videos and user guides and stuff like that. But everything that we produce, we put on technical publications. So that's going to be your one-stop shop. I showed the videos too. So the videos for CMS engineering is in here now. It's what we covered last year. And then this year, we're going to upload the recording of this video to here as well. We'll chapter it up for you. Just like you can see on the bottom, it's chaptered here, and it should be easy to view. And questions? What's the limit of number of users per project? The limit would be the roster role. So you can put as many people in groups as you want to give access to the project for viewing access. But as far as players on the project, it's going to come down to the roster role. So there can only be one PM, there can only be one service provider PM, stuff like that. What it really is going to come down to is your RFP or queue, however many people you propose in there as members of the project will get licenses, but we have to control licenses too because they're expensive. Will you also give CMS training to service providers in the near future? We can, but this training that we're offering right now is for service providers as well. So this room is full of both internal MTO and service providers. Does the CMS team have the ability to undo entries that need to be corrected? In some cases, yes. We have a lot of more information buttons to send it back, but back-end data fixes are not possible. So sometimes we have to delete a record and start it over, but it depends which record you're talking about. We will share the slides. I believe Jamie was working on the slides, on sharing them. We can send them out to this group afterwards. And how many free licenses to service providers? So like I said, it's going to come down to the RFP or queue in the specific contract. Retainers, task items can be different designers. How will that work? So you can delegate to designers, but really what CMS is for the submission, review, and approval of items. So you could have 10 designers working for you, but they're all designing one project. And when the project submittal is done, it's submitted by one person. Mohammed?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to that invoice. I'm just curious to know if it's really that expensive to create multiple workflows for that invoicing part, because I mean, I know some other systems, adding multiple workflows wasn't that expensive, where, you know, I had experience with some other workflows. I mean, some other management systems.
Changing the existing workflow isn't outrageously expensive, but having 5 or 4 or 3 different workflows would be very expensive, very complicated.
Oh, okay. So you like, okay, yeah, just for that multiple reason things. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Some have received an outdated invitation email and joined a different call initially. Can you please make sure that everyone is on the distribution list when you're sharing the slides? Yeah, I'll try and share them with as many people as I can. We could put them on technical publications too, actually. All right, Perlette. You're muted, Perlette.
Sorry about that. Thank you. So my question is regarding the file manager and the phase 3 documents. So once the contract is awarded and the service provider sends in the phase 3 documents, is it the responsibility then of the PM to upload them in CMS, or does the service provider have to upload them in CMS directly? Because they need to be reviewed to ensure they meet the ministry's requirements before we
Either
can
or.
issue. Yeah.
So either this PM or the service provider has access to File Manager to upload. But if it's something that needs to be reviewed and approved, I'd recommend using Submittals for that.
Okay, so submittals, not emails, like how it is right now.
Yeah, like Submittals is going to replace your emails.
I see. Thank you.
And emails can still exist. Like if you're going back and forth with a submittal and it's in draft and you're reviewing it back and forth, that's fine. But once the final official package is ready to go for review, that's what gets submitted into submittals.
Does the offer and acceptance, should that be in CMS, or is that too confidential to put there?
The offer and acceptance you can put in File Manager, but the service provider will have access to it. But if that's the form, like, is that the final agreement?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's no reason the service provider can't see that, is there?
No, because they need it for the pricing, right?
Yeah, so that could go into File Manager.
Okay, thank you.
Frederick?
Yes, so sitting through this presentation, is this a consultant management or a project management tool?
It's a project management tool.
So at the end of a project, what happens with it? So in 3 years from now, when my area managers switch twice and the 35-year-old is the most senior person in the area, and we're looking for an environmental or legal agreement because there's a problem out in the field with a contract that just finished, who and how do we get access to the project files?
The MTO always has access to the project files, and as long as you have a contract with the ministry, you have access to CMS as well.
But who though? Like me as a PM, if let's say the project manager on the file retired, the area manager is not around, who has access to these files and how do I find them?
You do. They would be stored in the same place that you would store files yourself. Like, so you'd look through the submittals, the file manager. All you would have to do is get this EST to put you in the group for that project. So permission you to the group or permission you to the project, and then you can access files that way.
The CST is?
EST, sorry.
EST.
Yeah, Heather's probably got a better answer.
Yeah, I just want to make note. My presentation was solely based on external onboarding. So I'm just going to give a little synopsis with respect to internal MTO onboarding. MTO participants are onboarded with the same thing. You get a contact, you get a user's license, but your level of viewing capabilities are either based on a regional or all 5 regions. So when you get added to say as a PM for the contract, you get added to the region that you're in. So you will have visibility to all MTO contracts. The restriction of you only have visibility to the contracts that you've been assigned to is with respect to external peoples. And furthermore, we're going to have some additional training for the ESTs for the onboarding to go over all this. But MTO players have accessibility at the regional level. And if all 5 regions are necessary, you can have visibility for all 5 regions as well.
The projects are stored as GWP projects, or because I saw the use of consultant numbers a lot.
They can be stored however you like. When the project is set up, the GWP is put in there, and as well as the agreement number.
And they can be searched and.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I never showed that. Thank you.
Well, the reason why I asked this question a year and a half ago and they didn't have an answer, and really the concern here, I mean, especially with, consistent changeover and moving around in that is, anyone, any PM, SPM, PE, PME, whatever, should have access to historical documentation, right, with regards, because this is going to be the new storage system for all our project files. Not all, actually, but consultant project files anyways. So I'm just trying to think in the future when, anyone has to go back, they have to be able to find it within reason of, not necessarily a consultant number or something, but that's all.
Yes.
I just think of the practicality of it, because if this all goes into, as I call the attic of filing that we're very well used to and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't do anyone any good. And we can put a lot of money and time into a very clean and organized system. But at the end of the day, if it just goes into, the theoretical boxes of the attic or the garage, then again, you're paying a lot of money for just a big warehouse of emptiness in that. And I know I'm being facetious, but I've been here for 25 years and I know how the ministry operates. I know how we do things and I know how things work. And we're always looking, we're always trying to find, we're always trying to debate, where this was. And this stuff needs to improve, but it needs to be functional and practical and at the back end as well, especially with turning over and stuff like that. So again, I'm not knocking it or anything like that, but at the end of the day, it can't just be an active. It needs to have a lot of functionality with passivity or past stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there's what I'm showing on the screen here. This is a project finder, so this is the different regions here. What you're going to do is you're going to be permissioned at the regional level, so you're going to have access to all the regional contracts, including construction contracts. So you come in here, search for whatever you want. It would be a GWP or a agreement number, and it pops up like that. So if you're looking for old files for someone who's, the role has had turnover 3 times and now it's just a young PM in there, you should be able to access the project regardless.
Excellent. Thank you.
Brulette?
Sorry, Ryan, I have too many questions. So
no, that's fine.
This question is regarding legal agreements. So for example, a project has a legal agreement attached to it. Is there a special place where you can add notes to say that or upload the legal agreement so it's on the file somewhere?
I'm going to point you to File Manager again. Let me see if there's any notes that you can add.
Okay.
If nothing else, you can create a folder and then upload the legal agreement and upload a Word document with your notes.
Okay, so the PM, because as an EST, we don't normally. And then a follow-up question to that is, if you have a cost share agreement and you have a reimbursement and you've processed the reimbursement, is there somewhere we can make a note of that on the file? Because mainly the cost share agreement to the municipality.
So in File Manager here, when I'm uploading a file, there's a comments box here that you can type in.
Okay.
So you can do that, or again, include a Word document with your notes. If it's longer notes, you can include it there. You can also
Okay.
notify people when you upload to File Manager. So if you want to upload a group or notify a group, you can do that. So this is all the groups. So you can notify the entire, let me see, PMPRE. So you can notify all the project managers
Okay.
when it's uploaded. I won't do that
Sure.
though. I'll send everyone a notification. But yeah, you can do comments and notifications in File Manager when you upload files.
Correct. Okay, because currently I would just photocopy, mainly it's a check or so, or some kind of notification, and I'll just copy the PM so they're aware that we've received the reimbursement. So it's good that there's a place to put it. Thank you.
Okay. Will the system allow you to make a project which has an assignment number but no GWP number? Example, assignments for inspections. Yep, the GWP number is not a mandatory field, so you can create it without one. Even if it was, you could just put a 0 or something or an NA in there, but it's not a mandatory field. Second question, how does the system handle work items for retainer assignments? So you set up a retainer assignment with a ceiling price, and then out of that you create work orders. The work orders can bill against themselves. So invoices can come in and be paid that way, and they draw down from the total ceiling price. So once you run out of ceiling price, you have to create a new retainer. Alrighty. I don't think there's any questions that are outstanding. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to email me or email the MTO CMS help desk. Probably easier to email me until you get going with a project, but if it's relating to this training. Kashif? Do you have a question?
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, just a quick question. So that are you going to also share the recording of this presentation?
Yeah, we're going to put the recording right in CMS, in the Submittals app. So if you go to Submittals, package Submittals, oh, where is it? Go videos and documentation, and then we'll upload it right here. This is last year's training if you want to review it too.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And we'll distribute the slides. 500 plus people. Thank you, Mohammed. Is that how many we had? Oh, 436 right now. That's not bad.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Oh, Meredith, you have a question? You're muted, Meredith. Oh, no more question. Kashav? No, he left too.